Trump just did a full 180 on Greenland, and markets actually moved. Not because of ice or polar bears, but because this tiny plot twist says a lot about where money, power, and your portfolio might be heading next. Welcome back to the comment section with Thomas Paul. Let's unpack what this U-turn really means, why traders suddenly care about a giant block of ice, and what I'm personally watching in my own investments. So, quick recap. A few years ago, the idea of buying Greenland was treated like a meme. People joked about it, made flags, did the whole internet thing. Fast forward, and now we've got a complete tone shift. Instead of mocking the idea, Trump is suddenly treating Greenland as serious strategic real estate. Energy, minerals, rare earths, military positioning, and long-term climate routes. Here's where things get interesting. Because when a politician jokes about an asset, then quietly pivots to treating it like a crown jewel, that's not just PR. That's signaling. Greenland sits on massive untapped resources, rare earth elements used in batteries and electronics, potential oil and gas, and it's right along what could become key shipping lanes as Arctic ice melts. Translation: future trade routes, future energy, future military leverage. So when the tone changes from LOL, let's buy it, to actually this is serious, markets listen. Resource stocks, defense, shipping, even clean energy names all start getting repriced around a simple idea. The Arctic is no longer background scenery, it's an asset class. But then the unbelievable thing happened. The conversation stopped being about whether the U.S. can literally buy Greenland, which no, that's not how this works, and shifted to, okay, who actually controls the next generation of energy and trade? And that's where you and I come in. Let me pull this down from geopolitics to your brokerage account. Big takeaway number one, geopolitics is becoming resource politics again. For years, the market narrative was software eats the world. Now it's slowly becoming whoever controls materials and energy feeds the software that eats the world. Big takeaway number two, Greenland is basically a live case study in why tiny locations can have outsized impact on global markets. Everyone ignored it, until they didn't. That pattern is familiar. It's what happened with Taiwan and semiconductors. It's what's happening now with rare earths and battery metals. But then he said this unbelievable thing. Because once you hear a former president seriously positioning Greenland as strategic leverage, you realize something. This isn't about one island. It's about a mindset. The mindset that physical assets, ports, mines, shipping lanes, military bases, are back in fashion for governments. And when governments care, capital follows. When I was about 12, my parents lost most of their savings because they trusted a bank advisor who sounded confident but wasn't thinking about long-term risk. Very calm voice, very bad outcome. That's when I learned. What actually matters is not the words, it's the incentives behind the words. Same thing here. This Greenland U-turn, it's not about the jokes or the headlines, it's about the incentive. Long-term control of resources and strategic territory in a world that's getting more chaotic. Here's where things get interesting, because the more leaders talk about places like Greenland, the more capital starts quietly moving into anything connected. Rare earth miners, Arctic shipping and logistics, defense contractors focused on the North Atlantic and Arctic, energy plays positioned near new routes. And here's where things take a step further. This isn't just a U.S. versus Greenland story. Denmark, NATO, Russia, China, they all care about Arctic access in different ways. If tensions increase in that region, you get more spending on defense, more investment in Arctic-capable ships, and more pressure to secure supply chains away from rivals. So what should you actually watch as a retail investor? Number one, watch defense budgets. If you see more talk of Arctic readiness or North Atlantic security, that's your tell. Number two, watch for deals. Joint ventures, mining rights, infrastructure projects in Greenland or nearby. Those deals are the real vote of confidence. Number three, watch how climate policy and shipping companies talk about Arctic routes. If they quietly start planning around them, that's not a meme. That's a business model. But it's even getting worse. Because this all collides with something else: AI and the demand for energy and advanced hardware. AI data centers need power, chips need rare minerals, batteries need metals. Suddenly, that irrelevant frozen rock looks a lot more like a long-term hardware and energy hedge. In terms of how I plan to invest, I'm not going out to buy pure Greenland plays tomorrow. That's how you end up as exit liquidity for someone smarter. I'm doing what I've always done since my early 30s, leaning into boring, diversified exposure to the themes, not the headlines. So instead of, which random microcap claims it will mine Greenland, I'm asking, which large, diversified miners have optionality in rare earths? Which energy companies benefit if Arctic routes lower shipping costs or open new fields? Which defense and logistics names get more funding in a world where the Arctic becomes a front line? When I worked at a local newspaper in college, I watched the same economic story get spun 3 different ways just by tweaking the headline. That's when I realized news is framing, not truth. The Greenland story is being framed as Trump flips again. I see it as markets quietly reprice the value of ice, minerals, and shipping lanes. But then the unbelievable thing happened. This is also the perfect example of why automation and leverage matter for creators and investors. Quick side note, this video was made with Fludge.io, the same system that powers this whole channel. If you're sitting there thinking, I'd love to run a channel like this, but I do not want to be on camera, ever, that's literally what it's built for. It researches topics in your niche, writes the script, creates the thumbnail, uses an AI avatar, and can even upload for you. You stay in control, jump in where you want, review, hit publish. I like it because it's not low-effort spam. The whole point is high-quality, research-backed content without living inside an editing timeline. If you want to start a faceless channel, keep your sanity, and still post consistently, check out Fludge.io. Here's where things get interesting because information speed is now a competitive edge. Governments move faster, markets react faster, hype cycles explode and die in weeks. If you're a retail investor, your edge is not being first. It's being calm and structured when everyone else is reactive. So, what changes for you practically from this Greenland U-turn? Number 1. Don't shrug off weird geopolitical stories. Sometimes the weird ones become the biggest trades 5 years later. Number 2. Think in themes, not headlines. Arctic access is a theme. Energy security is a theme. Rare earths are a theme. Number 3. Be allergic to once-in-a-lifetime pitches tied to this. If somebody is promising 10 times returns because Greenland, just no. I watched my parents learn the hard way that blindly trusting experts is expensive. And here's where things take a step further. If the Arctic keeps heating up as a geopolitical hotspot, you'll likely see more volatility in energy markets, more focus on military alliances and bases up north, more push to secure supply chains away from single points of failure. That means choppy markets, louder headlines, and lots of people screaming on the internet. Your job is to zoom out. Which assets get more valuable in a world obsessed with energy, materials, and secure routes? This is not financial advice. I don't know your situation, your risk tolerance, or whether you panic sell every time a headline drops. This is education and commentary, so you can think for yourself and not get steamrolled by the next narrative shift. So, let's wrap this up. Trump's Greenland U-turn is not just a political gimmick. It's a neon sign that physical resources, strategic locations, and Arctic access are back on the menu for big governments and big money. You can ignore the memes or you can quietly start paying attention to the themes. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Greenland becomes the next big geopolitical hotspot, or is this just another headline that fades in a week? Drop your take in the comments. I actually read them. If you found this useful, hit like, subscribe to the comment section with Thomas Paul, and share this with someone who still thinks Greenland is just snow and vibes.